Imagine an entire people standing before the promised land. They could see it. They could feel the wind blowing from the hills of Canaan and smell the fragrance of the fruits growing across the Jordan. It was the dream of centuries, and yet they recoiled. A murmur began in the tents, a venomous rumor, subtle and invisible. It was not an enemy army that defeated them. It was fear. From that fear arose the most silent and devastating rebellion in Israel's history. The book of Numbers unveils a plot of spiritual insubordination, where disobedience did not rise with swords, but with words, complaints, and divided hearts. The desert, meant to purify, became the graveyard of a generation. They were so close to the promise, yet chose the chains of doubt. When the spies returned, 10 sowed terror, while only Joshua and Caleb remained steadfast, proclaiming the Lord was greater than the giants. But the crowd chose tragedy. That night of collective despair sealed a generation's fate. God had shown his power in Egypt, parted the sea, and fed them with manna, yet fear prevailed. Numbers becomes not just history, but a mirror revealing what happens when the human heart rebels. Each tent seemed a sanctuary of whispers, where the desert wind carried doubt, as if the ground itself cried against wavering faith. Children looked at their parents and saw hesitation, contained despair, a fear so tangible it hovered over every step. The desert's silence turned into a conspiracy, needing no weapons, only weak hearts and persuaded minds. Every complaint, every murmur, every pause filled a chalice of judgment, and the question echoing through stones and dunes seemed whispered by the wind. The Lord has led us here, but can we trust him to the end? Deadlier than any sword, this doubt corroded the spirit. The spies returned, 10 speaking of giants and walls with terror, while Caleb and Joshua's hope glimmered like a lone flame in darkness. Yet the crowd embraced fear. Faith became a currency for illusory security. Disobedience rooted itself like weeds in fertile soil. The murmur became a cry, echoing across the desert, carrying silent condemnation. Each step toward the promised land seemed trapped in quicksand, caught between human despair and divine purpose. So Numbers is not just a chronicle, but a study of spiritual psychology before God. Heaven had opened over Egypt. Signs undeniable. The pillar of cloud and fire, manna falling, water from the rock, yet souls still faltered. The promise is clear, but a divided heart sows condemnation. I ask you now, how often has fear tried to dominate your faith? Comment your reflections, doubts, and courage. Share how you face your inner desert. Subscribe, activate notifications, and share this video to understand the desert is not only physical, but spiritual, and the choices before the promise shape generations. The journey has begun, yet the echo of fear remains. Witness how God responds to rebellion. The rebellion in Numbers did not begin with spears or idols. It began within conversations, thoughts, comparisons, and murmurs. Korah, Dathan, and Abiram were the faces of a revolt that had been fermenting for a long time. They questioned the authority of Moses and Aaron, disguising pride as spirituality, and dragged with them 250 leaders, respected men, yet blinded by ambition. They wanted the priesthood power to be seen, and the ground swallowed them alive. It was a scene no one would forget. The earth opening beneath the rebels' feet, the deep sound of divine wrath, and the desert falling into absolute silence. Yet the people, even after this, still rose against Moses. They still doubted. They still blamed the leaders God had established. Numbers teaches what the modern world often forgets. Rebellion against spiritual authority is rebellion against God. Every murmur, comparison, hidden discontent, is a seed that germinates destruction. The desert became a divine tribunal. God judged not only actions but intentions. With each step, he purified the people from within. The hidden rebellion that condemned that generation still echoes in hearts, choosing doubt over faith, self-promotion over obedience. Beyond Korah's collapse, the desert held a deeper lesson. The murmurs of the camp were subtle but poisonous, spreading like smoke through tents, reaching hesitant hearts, infecting courage with suspicion. Every whispered complaint, every question about God's provision, every shadow of envy became a crack in faith. And the question rising in the wind above the sand pierced like a trumpet. Who truly follows the Lord, and who follows their desires? The desert was classroom and courtroom, where invisible rebellion was deadlier than the earth swallowing the insurgents. Divine judgment was instruction, not spectacle. Each act of rebellion, glance of doubt, murmured critique, was measured by a God whose eyes pierced the heart. Those who remained alive saw trembling earth, smoke rising from Korah's fate, and silence of untouched tents. Yet some still murmured. Fear mixed with fascination, curiosity with treachery. Numbers is not only historical, it is prophetic, a warning for every generation. The battle within the heart is deadlier than any enemy outside. Ask yourself, where does hidden rebellion grow in your life? In which corners of your heart do doubt and comparison silently fester? Comment below with your reflections. Struggles with obedience, spiritual temptation. Share how you confront hidden deserts within. Subscribe, activate notifications, and share this video. Lessons of Numbers echo today, in faith cultivated or pride indulged. The invisible rebellion is real, and its consequences eternal. Witness the judgment and mercy of a God who sees beyond the visible. The journey through the desert became a countdown. Each year was a reminder of the sentence. 40 years of waiting, until all who doubted fell in the sand and the wind erased their tracks. The desert mirrored the human heart, vast, arid, unpredictable. There, God revealed who truly trusted him and who followed him only for convenience. When the people complained about the lack of water, Moses, seized by anger, struck the rock instead of speaking to it as God had commanded. Even he, the great liberator, paid the price of disobedience. No leader, however anointed, stands above obedience. In Numbers, we witness the holiness of God clashing with human fragility. Every rebellion was followed by judgment, but also by mercy. God continued to feed the people, continued to guide them by the cloud and the fire. Grace walked side by side with justice. Amid punishment, acts of hope emerged. The bronze serpent, a symbol of forgiveness for those who looked with faith. The song of victory over enemy kings, the promise that the children would inherit the land their parents had despised. Every lesson was etched into the sands, a divine reminder that disobedience carries a cost, yet God's love never ceases. The desert became both crucible and classroom, a place where human weakness met divine patience. The whispers of doubt, the murmurs of complaint, and the fleeting moments of rebellion were all seen, weighed, and addressed by a God who watches hearts as closely as actions. Each step through the burning sands revealed the tension between fear and faith, between pride and surrender. The people learned that obedience is not a suggestion, but a lifeline. That God's commands are not restrictions, but pathways to life. Even Moses, carrying the burdens of the nation, became a testament to the consequences of failing to fully trust in God's instructions. Yet in every trial, divine mercy lingered. The bronze serpent lifted on a pole, the manna that fell daily, the guidance of the cloud by day and the fire by night. These were signs that while judgment is real, redemption is always within reach for the faithful. Ask yourself now, where do you risk paying the price of disobedience in your own life? In which areas do doubt and impatience lead you away from God's plan? Comment below with your reflections, your moments of struggle and your acts of faith. Share how you navigate your own deserts, trusting or rebelling. Subscribe, activate notifications, and share this video, because the lessons of Numbers are eternal, showing that obedience may cost, but God's love never abandons. Witness the price, feel the mercy, and let the desert teach you. For even in failure, God's guidance remains. The story of Numbers does not end in the desert. It repeats. In every generation there is a new desert, a new Jordan, and a new choice. God continues calling his people to cross, to believe, to not recoil before giants. Yet the spirit of hidden rebellion still lives. The spirit that questions, murmurs, and prefers comfortable slavery over demanding freedom. Today, this rebellion disguises itself as relativism, as spirituality without submission, as faith without obedience. Many still say, we want to return to Egypt, even while surrounded by miracles. But God is raising new Joshuas and new Calebs, people who will not bow to fear, who trust even when the path seems impossible. The desert of Numbers was the test of the generation that saw the impossible and doubted. Our desert is the test of the generation that heard everything and still hesitates. The hidden rebellion that condemned Israel remains a divine warning. Do not lose your promise through fear. Do not trade eternal destiny for fleeting complaints. The same God who parted the sea and sustained manna still guides through fire, and he will only allow those who persevere in faith to enter the promised land. The desert separates the curious from the chosen. Every challenge, every trial, every moment of hesitation becomes a mirror of the heart. The winds of doubt stir within us, whispering fears, enticing compromise, tempting surrender. And yet, the same desert that swallowed the rebellious now calls for courage, obedience, and unwavering faith. The miraculous provision, the cloud by day, the fire by night. These are signs that God's presence has not abandoned His people. The question echoes through the sands. Will you trust Him? Or will you follow the comfort of doubt? Will you step forward like Caleb, who saw giants but moved with faith? Or will you linger, murmuring with the masses blinded by fear? Each step, each choice, each heartbeat in your desert carries eternal consequences. The unseen watches, the Spirit guides, and the opportunity to choose rightly comes but once. Reflect now, where is your desert? Where are the giants that test your courage and faith? Comment your struggles, your moments of obedience, your victories over fear. Share how you confront hidden rebellion in your own life. Subscribe, activate notifications, and share this video, because the call of the final generation is real. The promised land awaits the faithful. The desert reveals the hearts ready to persevere. Witness the echoes of numbers. Feel the tension between fear and faith. And let your choice today determine whether you are among the curious or the chosen. The story continues, and it depends on your response.